Well, I've always felt real comfortable with our goaltending, and I've always felt real comfortable with the rest of the squad. I mean, obviously we've got, at the beginning, we've got some injuries right now. It's no different than in the past. You get those at one point or another, and you got to find ways to win. That's what we're going to do.
Well, here we are on the eve of another Vancouver Canucks regular season, and not a lot has changed since the end of last season. Roberto Luongo, still not traded. Ryan Kessler, still injured. The injuries that have created a second line, which we don't know whether it's going to be able to score or not, they're still there. So leading up to that first regular season game, I'm not sure how the Canucks are going to be able to work out some of these problems. You can start with that second line where through training camp, through the start of training camp, they've been trying Andrew Ebbett and Jordan Schrader out in that second line center spot. I'm not sure that if Andrew Ebbett or Jordan Schrader are your center, you can possibly call that a second line. But they're going to have to find secondary scoring throughout the lineup, something that they weren't able to do at the end of last year. They couldn't do it in the playoffs. There's going to be a lot of pressure on the Sedins right now, and there's indications from both Alain Vigneault and Mike Gillis that this team is going to tighten up, try to rely on good defense and great goaltending. And that sounds wonderful. But what kind of pressure is that going to put on the de facto starter, Corey Schneider, who for the first time in his NHL career and his pro career at this level is going to be the number one guy? The shadow that looms over everything is Roberto Luongo. He's still here right now, and the team is going to have to work out a plan of how they incorporate him if he's here for the first few weeks or month of the season, if they can't get a trade done. It would help them out a lot if they could expedite this transaction and get themselves a center who can step into the lineup, help right now, maybe a young player who can help a couple of years from now. When Roberto Luongo is going to be traded, he doesn't know. We don't know. And there we wait. They certainly need the pieces that they can get back in a Luongo deal. It's not going to serve this team to have him sitting on the bench in the first two games this weekend with his $5.3 million cap hit, where they have these massive holes at center. Yesterday, in training camp, they had a second line that consisted of this: Mason Raymond, Jordan Schrader, Andrew Ebbett in the center, take your pick, and Zach Kassian. That's not exactly the second line of a Stanley Cup winning team. Their third line looks great right now. Hansen, Lapierre, Higgins. You can see that being an effective line all season long. The fourth line, it has some promise. I think that Malhotra is excited to get this season going. Last year, he couldn't work out in the offseason, and he never caught up. He never got up to game speed. He believes he can be better. We still have to see it on the ice. Days in a training camp, this team is still yet to work on their power play. They have to integrate Jason Garrison. Lucky for him, he was here weeks before all of this started, and he's already been working with the Sedins on some set plays, trying to understand the language and the style that the Canucks do in their power play. I think that was a great move on his part. The strength, obviously, is going to be that top four. Edler with Garrison, Bieksa with Hamhuis. The third pairing, we expect it to be Ballard with Tanev. But it is Keith Ballard, and when you're dealing with Alain Vigneault and Keith Ballard, all bets are off. Is there a chance that Cam Barker could usurp him and get some playing time? Of course there is. This is a guy who, back in 2010, the Canucks gave up a promising young player, Mike Grabner, and a first-round pick. They brought Keith Ballard to this team, and he scratched 4 times in the first 5 weeks. So some pretty significant questions for a team that right now is one of the picks to win the Stanley Cup.